Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is Slithy The Snake. So we'll go into Slithy's location, their backstory, their gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. And as always, I will just state that this is just a made up what if scenario character. We don't really expect them to be in the future chapters or the game of Poppy Playtime. This is just a cool creepy story we get to tell and we hope you enjoy. And lastly, before we start today's video, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube as it helps out a lot and it is greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. Alrighty, well, let's get into the story of Slithy the Snake. So in our last character concept video, we went into the character of Chumpawampa. Chumpawampa was one of the forgotten concept toys that never made it to full production. They were quite similar to Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy in design, but they were a larger and slightly different design to both those tall, flexible characters. Our main protagonist found the large creature version of Chumpawampa in the rejected toy section of the factory. The creature version had two frightening mouths on either of their arms. They would use these arms to devour the player whenever they caught them. In the end, our protagonists escaped Chumpawampa and found themselves in a new area of the factory. So now this brings us to the next concept character. So in the world of Poppy Playtime, we have the character Bron The Dinosaur. Throughout the game, we've seen multiple toys and posters of this character. And we've also done our own episode on this character. But the question is, what if Bron wasn't the only reptilian character in Poppy Playtime? So before Bron was introduced to the Playtime Co. range of toys, there was another character before them. And this character was Slithy the Snake. Slithy was a snake character toy that had a dual purpose. They were still a toy for children to play with, but they could also be used as a container or a bag to store children's other toys. They acted similar to a large pencil case with a zipper on their stomach. The children would simply open Slithy's mouth and store all their toys in their stretchy rubber body. Slithy had a bright purple colour scheme and a friendly looking face with a dangly red rubber tongue. This toy was in production for a few years but then eventually was phased out and replaced with Bron the Dinosaur. The original Slithy toy is quite rare to come by and is definitely a sought after item amongst collectors. So now the new area that our protagonist arrives in is the stuffing room. This was the room where all the plush toys received their stuffing. Although Huggy and Missy are organic beings, their miniature versions of themselves were soft and plush. The elevator could only go up to this level. It seems that the power might be out on the upper floors. They decided to exit the elevator and take a look around. There were large vats filled with soft white stuffing that would get injected into the Huggy and Missy dolls. It looks like no one has been here for quite some time. Most of the vats are empty or damaged. The machinery looks quite similar to all the others that we've seen so far in the factory. Some of the machines even follow you with their eyes, just like the ones in the Build a Friend section. The player decides to search around this area to see if they can get any further into the factory. They eventually come across a door that leads into the power room. If they can restore the power, they may be able to travel up to the other levels in the elevator. They enter through the door and arrive in a cold, dark corridor. They turn on their flashlight and advance forward. As they walk down the dark corridors, they can see multiple pipes and steam vents that hiss at them as they walk past. The player eventually comes across the main power supply control panel. Behind the control panel are 3 large coloured pipes: yellow, purple, and red. These pipes must be where all the power travels through in the facility. The only thing is, the panel is locked and needs a key to unlock it. The player needs to find the key to unlock this panel. After walking further down some more corridors, they come across a room filled with old Slithy the Snake toys. Our protagonist remembers this toy from a few years ago. They remembered seeing Slithy on store shelves. But then they eventually stopped selling them for some reason. They vaguely remembered something about a recall issue involving some accident with the toy. So the key to the control panel must be in one of these old Slithy toys. One by one, the player needs to open up each of the toys and retrieve the key. Eventually, after opening all the Slithy dolls, they finally find the key. As they go back to the control panel, the player uses the key and unlocks it. In this puzzle segment, the player needs to match the correct coloured battery terminals to the correctly coloured switches. If they get the sequence wrong, the puzzle would reset and they would need to start again. Once they figured it out, the lights would turn back on and this area of the factory would be operational once again. As they step away from the control switch, a bunch of steam jets out of one of the pipes. As it does, the purple pipe wiggles to life and slithers away. The player needs to get out of here quickly or else they'll figure out exactly what that purple pipe was. Our main character then begins to walk back down to the dark corridor towards the stuffing room. As they do, a large tongue filled with sharp teeth begins to strike at them through the vents in the wall. The player needs to dodge this sinister tongue or else it'll grab them through the vents in the wall. As they enter back into the stuffing room, they can see the power has been restored. They head towards the elevator to finally access those upper levels. Just as they do, the large creature version of Slithy falls from the ceiling and blocks the elevator. This creature looks just like Slithy. Its mouth is filled with razor-sharp teeth and its tongue has changed to something much more disturbing. Their eyes have changed as well. They were much more dark and hollow, almost empty and soulless. The player backs away from the elevator and stands just in front of the stuffing machine. Slithy leaps forward at the player in an attempt to swallow them whole. The protagonist moves out of the way just in time. As they do, Slithy locks their jaws around the stuffing nozzle that was right behind the player. The player quickly activates the stuffing machine as it injects the fluffy synthetic wool inside of their body. The machine stops as Slithy attempts to attack again. In this boss battle segment, the player needs to keep dodging the attacks from Slithy and keep aligning them up with the stuffing nozzle. Every time Slithy accidentally latches onto the nozzle, the player would have to activate the machine once again and fill Slithy's body. Every time they did this, they would get larger and slower. Slithy gets so large they can hardly move. As the enlarged creature slowly slithers towards our protagonist, they call the elevator and evade this disturbing looking creature. Now I think Slithy would be a great character to include in the Poppy Playtime cast of characters. They could definitely be a creepy creature to go up against, and they could offer a number of frightening jump scares as well. Now I think it isn't very likely that we'll see a character like Slithy in the future chapters or future games. But I still think it's a fun what if character, and I'd definitely like to see something like it in a future installment. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Also in the comment section down below, let me know what you thought of Slithy the Snake and what you'd also like to see going forward. Alrighty everyone, well until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.